Well done you. My mother does a lot of that.
Chin chin.
This isn't Chinzano.
Why they use hops in beer? Same reason you season food. Flavor.
The 1950s are celebrated as a golden age for the cocktail. But for every iconic success story like Jack Daniel's or Smirnoff, there were countless other brands that crashed and burned. In the fierce post-war competition for a place on the American bar cart, many liquors with big ambitions fell victim to bad timing, questionable taste, or simply disastrous marketing. Today, we're unearthing these forgotten flops and counting down 25 liquor brands from the 1950s that failed miserably.
It must be 4 o'clock somewhere in the Empire. Wish me luck. Anyone for Pimm's?
Pimm's number 6 occupied a curious niche in mid-century Britain, a bottled concoction that promised the charm of a homemade punch without the trouble. Blended from fortified wine and botanicals, it was bright enough for garden parties and sturdy enough for seaside fetes. Its approachable sweetness made it a social staple. Sellers marketed convenience as sophistication, and Pimm's delivered it in tidy, labeled bottles that looked at home on tea trays. As cocktail culture matured and consumers sought authenticity over novelty, demand narrowed. Pimm's lines were rationalized, and certain numbered variants gradually disappeared. Still, the brand name retained a whiff of summer afternoons and convivial crowds.
Time has made it, and only time can make enjoyment perfect.
During the whiskey boom of the 1950s, Glenlivet flourished, becoming one of the most recognizable single malts of its time. Its honeyed, gently smoky character, born from malted barley, copper pot stills, and patient oak aging, captured the essence of the Highlands and found favor in both private clubs and export markets. Bottles of Glenlivet traveled widely, appearing in duty-free shops and collections across the Commonwealth. As the decades passed, corporate mergers reshaped the brand, and some bottlings faded from shelves, leaving longtime drinkers nostalgic for the golden age that had defined Glenlivet's mid-century success.
Dry, Rosso, Bianco.
Chin chin.
Cinzano, dry white vermouth once graced trays and cocktail rails, offering a crisp herbal counterpoint to gin and aperitifs in the 1950s. Its blend paired white wine with alpine botanicals, wormwood whispers, and a clean finish, making it especially suited to dry martinis and lighter aperitivo where a floral lift was desired. The dry white designation signaled restraint compared with sweeter red vermouths, and it found favor among bartenders seeking subtlety. Market consolidation and shifting consumer tastes led Cinzano to refocus its catalog, and some specific regional or seasonal bottlings were discontinued. Though recipes and labels changed, the idea of a dry, white vermouth persists in contemporary bars.
2 ounces of gin and about a half an ounce of egg white. Then we're going to shake the ingredients without ice. We call this the dry shake.
Ancora Gin Fizz. Dry gin epitomized mid-century refinement, a spirit designed to elevate foamy gin fizzes without clashing with lemon, sugar, and egg white texture. Distillers dialed juniper back slightly in favor of bright citrus and botanical clarity, so the gin supported rather than dominated cocktails. Coastal bars and hotel lounges prized its brisk mouthfeel, and its clean finish made it a reliable canvas for mixology's softer side. Consolidation in the spirits industry and evolving production priorities saw many such lines shelved in favor of high-volume signatures. Today, Ancora survives in memories and recipe books, where its name evokes the fizz and froth of summer evenings. Ancient age 6-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon was the archetype of mid-century Americana. 6 years in oak produced caramel warmth, gentle vanilla notes, and a modest rye spice. It was approachable and straightforward, the kind of bourbon bartenders recommended to patrons who wanted comfort rather than provocation. Its age statement made it easy to position on shelves and made tasting notes simple to convey. Economic pressures and changing branding strategies eventually led to its discontinuation, as companies prioritized broader ranges and streamlined labels. Collectors occasionally unearth old bottles that hint at a calmer, pre-craft era when bourbon was reliable pocket money luxury rather than boutique obsession. Aruta Acorus, pineapple liqueur, bottled Atlantic sunlight, a syrupy tropical liqueur inspired by island fruits and Portuguese flavors. In the 1950s, it lit up seaside cafes and cocktail shakers alike, adding sweetness to tiki-inspired drinks and lending after-dinner pours a hint of candied pineapple. Bartenders balanced its syrupiness with acid and neutral spirit so drinks avoided cloying heaviness. As global sourcing and marketing priorities evolved, niche liqueurs like Aruta Acorus slipped from international shelves, though regional artisans still mimic its profile today. The liqueur remains a warm memory for those who tasted it, conjuring palm fronds, salted air, and easygoing evenings.
The wine they taste, so all may yet be well, though there's many a sip twixt cup and lip.
Gentile Elixir Rabarbaro was an Italian rhubarb liqueur that translated earthy tartness into a digestive's poetry. In the 1950s, it sat at the end of long meals, its acid bite offset by mellow botanicals and measured sugar, promising to settle and enliven the palate alike. Sipping a small glass revealed layers of flavor, rhubarb heat, an herbal undertow, and a lingering tang that made it versatile both neat and in cocktails. Market consolidation and changing tastes nudged many such local elixirs toward obscurity. Yet contemporary mixologists sometimes resurrect their spirit in modern craft expressions, borrowing that brilliant rhubarb sap and bitter charm.
This is something I found
while we were shopping for bum and shit.
Yeah.
Purple Passion wasn't a delicate sipper. It was the loud cousin at every party. A canned riff built around Everclear, the grain alcohol with a legally hair-raising 95% ABV. What began as campus punch, fruit, wine, and a purple wash to mask the burn, later became a mass-produced canned cocktail in 1986. The David Sherman Corporation sold 1 million cases by bottling a reckless idea, a candy-sweet mixer married to an industrial-strength spirit. That contrast defined Purple Passion, mouth-watering sweetness up front, a surprising chemical grit behind, and plenty of stories about college nights that got out of hand. It tasted like a shortcut to celebration and left a longer memory than most mixers ever did.
That winks back at you, the ice-cold refresher with twice the pleasure. Next time you feel like a drink, have a Ripple.
Ripple proved that price and sweetness could become a cultural shortcut. Launched in 1959 by E&J Gallo, Ripple was an inexpensive, carbonated, sugar-laced table wine aimed squarely at affordability and approachability. Its red variety offered upfront fruity bubbles with a thin wine backbone, while later pear and pagan pink variants stretched shelf appeal. For hosts and party planners on tight budgets, Ripple supplied bubbly cheer without ceremony. No corkscrew, no fuss, just pour and go. Its flavor profile invited playful drinking rather than tasting notes, and its market success illustrated how flavor plus value can outperform pedigree.
Now take our sherry. Nobody else makes sherry just like we do. That's why Gallo sherry tastes better. It is the choice of the wine country.
Sweetness met swagger in Chesky Cherry Whiskey, a bold experiment from Boursier de Brise and Company that blended the warmth of whiskey with the deep red richness of cherries. It arrived in bars and home cabinets as a colorful twist on the otherwise buttoned-up world of brown spirits. Its aroma promised fruit. Its finish delivered fire. Perfect for dessert cocktails or a late-night pour, Chesky Cherry Whiskey carried an air of cheerful rebellion, a bridge between the approachable liqueurs of the day and the hard-edged whiskeys men swore by. Advertisements leaned on its vibrant hue and continental charm, giving drinkers permission to indulge with flair. Though it eventually vanished, Chesky left behind the idea that whiskey could flirt with fruit and still keep its backbone strong. When cocktails were an art form, Butin Dry Gin stood proudly behind countless martinis and gimlets. Distilled by the historic Italian house Butin, known for its meticulous craftsmanship, this gin offered crisp juniper notes balanced by subtle spice and citrus peel. It was a dry gin that spoke softly but confidently, a refined choice for drinkers who prized structure over showiness. Whether poured neat or shaken with vermouth, it delivered that clean, bracing finish classic gin lovers sought. Though newer brands soon crowded the shelves, Butte & Dry Gin had already defined what dry should taste like. No gimmicks, just pure botanical elegance in a slender bottle that once gleamed beneath mid-century bar lights. Butte & Triple Sec turned every cocktail into an event. Produced by the same skilled distillers behind Butte & Dry Gin, this orange liqueur offered layered sweetness and zesty brightness. It wasn't just an ingredient. It was the soul of sidecars, cosmopolitans, and countless forgotten punch recipes that shimmered in the 1950s nightlife. The flavor was precise, the sunlit essence of orange peel, stripped of bitterness, anchored by a smooth sugar base that didn't overpower. In an age when home entertaining was booming, Butte & Triple Sec made hosts look polished with little effort. Its balance and clarity earned it respect among bartenders, even as trends shifted. Today, it's remembered as the citrus spark that once gave cocktails their confident glow. Cloche d'Or, hit dry gin, carried a name that promised success, and for a while, it lived up to it. Packaged in sleek bottles that echoed 1950s elegance, this gin was crisp, aromatic, and unmistakably continental. It delivered the kind of sharp botanical bouquet that made martinis sparkle and gin tonics sing. Drinkers admired its clarity. No frills, no cloying sweetness, just clean juniper, a whisper of spice, and the faintest floral lift. Hit was both a marketing boast and an apt description of its brief but bright popularity among fashionable bars of the era. As global brands expanded, Cloche d'Or faded quietly from shelves, leaving behind only whispers of its refined bite, a testament to a gin that hit its mark, then bowed out gracefully. Absenta Argenti flowed from stills for decades before production stopped in the early 1970s. It began as a strong, herbal spirit that held wormwood, anise, and fennel in balance. Over the years, the recipe changed, and each new era left its mark. Small makers once steeped real botanicals for long hours. Later distillers looked for speed and lower cost, and they turned to essences and quick fixes. The very last Argenti tastes different. Thinner, sweeter, and more like a lab mix than a field blend. For collectors, early bottles hold the real quiet power. The final bottles are a lesson in how trade and taste can hollow a craft. It is a bittersweet memory.
Now one man and his ale. What he wants is Watney's. What he wants is Watney's pile. What we want is Watney's.
Watney's Red Barrel was a familiar sight in British pubs in the mid-20th century. Poured from casks and kegs, it offered a clean, simple pint that many workers and regulars knew by taste and name. The beer carried a soft malt note and a light hop finish that fit the post-war thirst for steady, honest beer. Watney's used modern brewing and wide distribution to make the Red Barrel a mass favorite. Still, over time, critics and drinkers sought more flavor and variety, and pub trends shifted. By the later decades, the brand faded from prominence and the kegs stopped rolling in. Old pump clips sometimes appear in pub auctions. Memories of pub chatter and clinking glasses keep its story alive.
A double diamond works wonders, works wonders, works wonders. A double diamond works wonders, so drink one today.
Double Diamond was another staple of British draft beer in the 1950s and beyond. It stood for simple, reliable beer poured in pubs across towns and cities. Many drinkers grew up with its mild malt flavor and light bitterness. Brewed to be steady and affordable, Double Diamond fed workday pints. Its reach came from strong distribution and pub trade ties rather than from rare hops or exotic malts. Over time, the beer world changed and drinkers explored stronger flavors, craft ales, and niche styles. Double Diamond's place in the pub began to shrink, and its tins and bottles grew rarer on shelves. Old fans still recall the hum of a full bar and its easy amber pour and laughter.
claiming whitbread tastes best from the jar. And this man most irate, with his own glass quite straight, was Count Ivan Skavinsky Skavar.
Whitbread tankard was a well-known beer in mid-century Britain, the sort you'd find in many local pubs. It was built around a simple recipe that aimed for steady taste and wide appeal. People ordered it for its reliable body and easy drinkability after work or on a quiet night with friends. Whitbread's long history in brewing helped the tankard reach many corners of the market, backed by dependable supply lines and trusted pub accounts. Yet, as decades passed, palates changed and drinkers chased a wider range of flavors and styles. The tankard's place in the taproom faded as new brands arrived and competition grew. Old bottles and brewer signs now spark memories more than cold pints do. Many remember it fondly.
Oh, terrific. Tartan special. They always fall for it.
Hey, they've got Ali MacLeod in there.
Younger's Tartan was a brother to many British ales that spoke to local pride and simple pleasure. Branded with a tartan motif, it nodded to Scottish roots while aiming for broad appeal across the UK. The brew carried a bright malt character with a gentle hop touch, the kind of pint that went well with hearty food and friendly company. Younger's used regional strength and pub ties to spread the tartan name, and it became a regular choice in many towns. Over time, changes in ownership and taste made it harder for such traditional beers to keep pace. As lighter lagers and varied ales arrived, the tartan's taps dwindled. Today, it lives in old signs, memories, and the tales of pub regulars.
Party, and everybody's looking your evening gown. Be glad you chose Wolfschmidt vodka.
Wolfschmidt's vodka was a common name in American bars and stores in the mid-1900s. It arrived in an era when clear spirits gained favor, and vodka's clean, neutral character fit modern cocktails and simple mixed drinks. Wolfschmidt's offered a smooth, plain spirit for a good price, and bartenders used it as a base for many recipes. The bottle was a steady presence at the bar, and many home hosts kept a spare for guests. Over the years, the vodka market shifted toward larger brands and new imports, and some old labels could not keep up. Wolfschmidt's slowly faded from shelves and bar railings. Today, it is a name you find in vintage ads and old recipes. Old bottles sometimes surface among collectors. The King was a bourbon that sat within Brown-Forman's long line of whiskeys after the firm took on the old Lindale distillery in the early 1920s. It became a blended whiskey in the late 1930s and then found its moment as a top seller for a spell before being retired in the 1960s. Bottles of the King poured with firm oak, tannin, and spice, and some tasters say it smelled like a kind of Prohibition-era spirit, old wood, caramel, and a hot kick that reminded drinkers it meant business. The King offered a bold, rustic sip that fit the rougher tastes of its day. Today, the name is part of company lore, and the old bottles are trophies for collectors. President's Choice was a special Old Forester edition picked by Brown-Forman President Garvin Brown II. From 1938 until 1969, barrels were chosen for extra strength and character to make a bolder bourbon that would stand out. Named to honor the president's taste, this whiskey kept Old Forester's core profile but added more bite, tannin, and oak. The result was a robust, austere spirit that appealed to drinkers who wanted a stronger, more serious pour. Bottles carried weighty flavor and left a firm finish. Fans remember it as the masculine edge of the range, a whiskey to sit with and think. As the years turned, the line ended, and the chosen barrels were emptied. Today, a few bottles still turn up in tastings. Frost 8/80 was an odd experiment in bourbon history. Makers took 8-year-old stock and filtered out the color, leaving a clear spirit at 80 proof. The idea came as white liquors grew in favor and producers wondered if a colorless bourbon could find new fans. It looked like vodka, but tasted of oak, spice, and caramel underneath the pale face. The name matched the method. 8 years and 80 proof. The product used remaining stocks from older Pennsylvania houses, but the market did not embrace the idea. The bottle lasted only a short while in the early 1970s and then vanished. Today, it is a strange footnote, a bold try that did not catch on. Collectors prize it for its odd rarity.
Classic vinyl album, but bourbon. Old Forester never gets old.
Old Forester 86 was the brand's answer to a changing market in the 1960s. Where older bourbons often sat at 100 proof, this version came down to a lighter 86 proof to match the rising taste for softer spirits like vodka and light rum. Other than the lower proof, the recipe stayed true to Old Forester's character, so drinkers found familiar oak, caramel, and spice but in a gentler frame. The idea was to keep loyal fans while courting new ones who wanted milder flavors. Over time, the trend toward lighter spirits moved on, and many drinkers returned to fuller proofs, leaving the 86 behind. Today, it is a historical footnote that shows how brands tried to meet new demand without changing their soul.
But you'd taste the difference if we didn't, so we do. Olympia, it's the water and a lot more.
Olympia Beer was the Pacific Northwest's familiar lager, first brewed in Tumwater, Washington in 1896. Its simple slogan, "It's the water," promised pure spring water as the secret behind a clean, easy taste. For generations, locals trusted Olympia at picnics, on fishing trips, and after long workdays. The brand felt like the region itself, plain, steady, and tied to rivers and forests. Pabst bought the brewery in 2003 and moved production to California, but the name stayed on cans while fans dwindled. By early 2021, Pabst announced brewing would end, citing falling demand. Today, Olympia lives in faded signs, old cooler stickers, and the stories of people who drank it by the dozen, and small-town rituals and memories.
Who wants to eat in a hat? A derby hat. A brown derby hat.
Brown Derby began as Safeway's own canned beer, brewed by Humboldt Malt and Brewing in California in 1935. Sold only in Safeway stores, it was a low-cost Pilsner-style light ale in plain packaging. Early can art showed a derby hat and umbrella and drew a lawsuit, so the brewer changed the design. Brown Derby grew fast. Customers bought so much that Humboldt could not keep up, and other small breweries were pressed into service by 1938. Humboldt closed in 1940, yet the Brown Derby label continued as various suppliers filled Safeway orders. As national brands rose and taste shifted, Safeway stopped ordering it in 1988, and the beer slowly vanished from shelves.